Today's episode is a little different. Instead of bringing in a single guest, we're sitting down with the people who help shape how Magma thinks, decides, and builds. This conversation breaks together Obie, Victor, and Edwin. Different backgrounds, different vantage points, but all connected by years of experience, making real decisions under real constraints. There is no panel format today. Not prepared statements, just a shared table and an open conversation about how each of them sees the tech landscape evolving toward 2026. What's changing, what's staying sovereignly the same, and what those shifts quietly mean for teams and companies trying to build things that last. Yeah. So, as we were saying, there is no panel format today, guys. No prepared statements, just a shared table and an open conversation about how each of you guys sees the tech landscape evolving towards 2026, right? So what's changing, what's staying the same, and what those shifts quietly mean for teams and companies trying to build things that last, right? So, gentlemen, thanks for being here. Let's get into it, right? So I have this first question. So you can go. I mean, no, it's not necessary for you to raise your hand or something, right? You just go and answer this question. So this is the first question. If someone listens to this episode in 2027, what do you think they will say? Yeah, this was already in the air.
Help, the robots are killing me.
Oh man, no, Skynet finally here, right? Yeah. So, well, we all laugh about it, right? But it is kind of like in the air, right? I mean, yeah, probably not
There's a,
20.
there's a non-zero possibility.
Yeah, exactly that. Well, probably 2029, right?
Um, I mean, metaphorically speaking, perhaps. I mean, the rise of coding agents is definitely going to start having an effect this year, and maybe even a dramatic effect by 2027 with rising productivity. So there might be some people that are getting killed by the robots. Certainly not everyone, but I think that there is a subset of the industry that does not appear to be getting with the times or getting with the program. I mean, I still see people online saying, "Oh, the AI is just a stochastic parrot," or "I like coding by hand; it's better," things like that. So I don't think those people are going to make it.
Yeah. So not literally killed by robots, right? But like professionally, you mean, right?
Yeah, metaphorically.
Yeah. What do you think, Edwin?
Uh, I mean, also speaking about real robots, that they can actually walk and do things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's supposed that they're going to be even better than the best surgeons right now in less than 2 years. So they're gonna be doing very some super complex surgeries on humans. For example, some of them they are already implanting some chips in the head, and they are super precise.
Yeah.
So the same fear that they're gonna kill us, also they're gonna save us. I
Oh.
think because that everything is gonna get cheaper and cheaper because the robots they don't get tired, they don't need unions, they don't need all the benefits or anything. They just work. So that's also something in the horizon that we're gonna be dealing in the next couple years. You know what's gonna be look like for us.
What do you think, Victor? I mean, like this thing feels 2026 or 2027 to you?
Well, do you know how this works, right? Um, last like 2024 and 2025 were more like about the magic about AI and also prompt engineering and all that stuff. But what it was last year and is going to maintain this year and of course next year is going to be AI generated software. So a lot of people is is using agents right now, and is focusing on building software with help of AI. So I think the next year is going to be uh, like almost everything is going to be used in that area.
Yeah. So whenever a big change, a big shift comes into play, um, you can see a pattern. You can spot some patterns, right? So my question is this: what feels new today, but it's actually an old pattern in disguise? Like for example, when the internet, right? When this new e-commerce thing situation, right? Bubbles and everything, right? Started like getting traction, and now with generative AI and all this kind of stuff, that's
I can jump in here, Darwin. Okay, what feels new? Um, the coding with AI agents is, and the intelligence demonstrated by state of the art AI is definitely historically new.
Mhm.
The transition to using AI for coding, however, even though it is new in practice, is actually a continuation of an old pattern, which is that programmers continually move up in abstraction levels with what they're doing. When I started programming in all the way, back in the 80s in third grade as a kid, um, I started with basic, but eventually moved into essentially what would be assembler
Mhm.
and machine programming. And anyone who's been around the industry long enough has gone through several shifts where they went from coding, and implementing systems in lower level languages to higher level languages. Those higher level languages were always much less efficient than the lower level language, and there were always uh, a generation of the older programmers that said that the new stuff was garbage or wrong or
Mhm.
inefficient or wouldn't work or wouldn't scale. That's a pattern that just keeps playing over and over again. So it's, in that sense, I see this shift as just another manifestation of a very old pattern.
Yeah, for sure. I remember that I was learning, what was the name of that thing? Visual Visual Fox? Is that it, was that a thing, Edwin? Visual Fox?
Yeah, Fox
Yeah.
Pro. No?
Yeah, that thing like 20 or no, oh my God, 20.
Studio or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, 30 years ago, right? And people that were like way ahead of us, they were like, what is this new thing, right? And they were like, yeah, diminishing our efforts and whatever. So it's the same thing. That's what you mean, Obi, right? Like that
Yeah.
this new thing is crap, but
Yeah. I mean, there's not too many people saying that it's crap now, but I mean, we've definitely gone through this phase where there's believers and non-believers, and there's a shift.
uh-huh.
And, you know, some of the techniques that are being applied, and I'll plug my book here. In my latest book, Patterns of Application Development Using AI, I talk about replacing deterministic code with non-deterministic code. So replacing sections of traditional software with AI componentry, which essentially act as prompt-driven black boxes, or agentic
Yeah.
componentry. Where you hand off part of the control flow of your program to an agent or a swarm of agents.
Mhm.
And in doing so, you replace, anywhere from a few to a few thousand or a few million lines of code with a non-deterministic black box that's implemented with a large language model, for instance.
Yeah.
And people go, "That's ridiculous! You're wasting so many cycles. You're wasting so many computing cycles. Why don't you do it the right way? The right way being a lower level implementation." But this is an old pattern, right? This is the same thing that happens again and again. And what seems to be grossly inefficient and too slow at the time always ends up getting optimized over the course of the near future. And then it becomes the status quo until whenever the next revolution is.
Got it. So in terms of that, Edwin and Victor, how are we prepared here at Magna to face these kind of situations? Are we implementing this, or what? How have we managed to bring AI developing into a studio?
Well, another, I think this also comes into where, like you say, there are patterns that are arising. And for example, we always face new regulations, and those regulations affect businesses. They need to keep and generating earnings, like they need to keep uh, generating money, profits, and all that. But they also need to adjust to new regulations. So we we can help them to actually automate a lot of stuff, like replace old processes, automate those processes to be more efficient. You know, for example, a lot of new businesses are coming into this new AI thing. Livestock management, for example, like a lot of farms, ranchers, and all that, they are losing a lot of money because they don't have any automated way to keep monitoring the livestock. For example, a lot of IoT combined with AI, they can save them a lot of money, and they can help them to generate even more money because like maybe they we predict that the weather is going to be super bad, and they use like all the cows and all that, they you can just gather them in a safe place and all that. So those kind of things are not automated right now, but that's the beauty of this thing, that we can actually help them even faster, um and that's one of the things that I really excites me, like I try to solve automate new problems with this, with everything that is coming up and all the new markets and all that. They can actually come into to looking at us to help them to optimize the processes, and that's one of the things that I really enjoy doing the most.
Okay, okay. So what do you think, Vic?
Well, this is a tough question, right? Of course, there are many things that we need to be prepared, and we are working on that as a company. Um, we are trying to have this program where everyone is using their platforms such as Cursor, copilots, and everything. So all our engineers, they can have the the enough. Sorry, let me rephrase this. They can have the best tools for working on any kind of project that it includes AI, and also the projects that doesn't include AI. And also we are working in new services that we think is going to be a good idea. There is like a lot of companies right now that or also startups or people start using vibe coding, and if they are not technical people, sometimes they struggle at some point when they send those products to production. So it's where that is a place where we can help them to optimize, to maintain and continue the development of those platforms.
So in this sense, what's becoming easier in engineering and at the same time like harder?
One of the things that is getting easier is how the product people communicates with engineering people. Because right now they can easily just go with some AI, and they will tell them, I have this requirement, generate a UX design for this. They will see, and this is what I wanted to see. This is modify this, modify that, do a quick prototype, and then you can hand that over to engineers, and they can, the communication gets faster, it gets better. They're not relying on us to generate mockups or anything. They can just go ahead and start generating screens and flows and all that by themselves.
Mm-hmm. So where is human judgment being finally removed over that? I mean, like just generating HTMLs using CSS and that's it, and it doesn't matter. I mean, do they have like this broad sense of developing, or do you just get pictures translated to HTML and CSS?
Human judgment is more important than ever, and will continue to be the most important thing.
Uh-huh.
So, to some extent, I'm living in the future at this moment. I've just become CTO recently of a startup with less than 20 people,
Uh-huh.
leading a small engineering team, and we're all in on AI. And because we're a small, well-funded startup that has full control over everything that we're doing, we're able to use AI across the entire operation and the entire engineering team in every way possible. And so I call this living in the future, because in bigger companies that have established policies and procedures and management layers and varying skill levels involved, varying levels of AI adoption, you don't see the full power of this thing coming together. And the sum is truly greater than its parts. The productivity that can result as from using AI in every single part of your business, and everyone investing a significant part of their day in optimizing their productivity, is generating incredible results. And the one constant, to bring it back to your question, is judgment.
Yeah.
Right? The people that are involved in this kind of hyper accelerated environment have to have good judgment in order to be able to play in that environment. So that they don't just end up wasting time and holding everyone else back.
Yeah.
The hyper acceleration of all the processes of the company ends up exposing the people who, involved, who don't have good judgment, who are not actually keeping up, in such a dramatic way. Because it used to be that you could have, like, your mythical 10x developer on the same team as net negative producers, people who are just there dragging everything down, and your manager and director level people are either okay with it or just oblivious, because there is not enough of a dramatic delta and effect, or the people who are relatively higher performer will just carry the rest of the team.
Yeah.
That is not the situation anymore. And, right now we're seeing it with small teams or individuals that are leveraging these new capabilities to the max. Increasingly, as they infiltrate larger organizations, the people who actually have good judgment, versus the people that don't, is going to become a very, very dramatic difference. It's going to become very obvious.
So these kinds becoming a warning for all these, like you said, big companies, like large companies, that they are just starting to experiment with AI, but there are some poor judgment among their employees, right? I mean,
I mean, there's always in the bigger the company is, there always ends up being people who have poor judgment. But I mean, to cast it in a positive light, the people who have experience and applied wisdom are becoming more and more valuable. I've heard it described. I've heard it described in a way as the hollowing out of the middle. And what's meant by that is that, the very, very senior people who actually have applied wisdom are able to leverage these tools to the fullest. And then let's say that's the most senior people in your team, your organization. And then there's the most junior, newest members of the team who have no experience whatsoever because they have no baggage. They have no they basically have no judgment, to some degree. They might have taste. Taste is something that you can have even at a young age, but they probably don't have a lot of judgment. If we're talking about architectural questions and scaling and stuff like that, they may, for example, have no idea about the blast radius of a change. They might not even know what you're talking about, if you start discussing that topic. But the senior people do. But the people in the middle that are neither really senior and do not have a lot of demonstrated wisdom, but still have enough experience to be stuck in the old ways of doing things, like those are the people that are getting hollowed out, right? Because the very, very junior people that are very new, they don't have any preconceived notions, so they come in and they just start using AI for everything and in creative ways that the older people can't even imagine or think.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and also getting back to the taste thing. I will say like AI is kind of like a crowd pleaser, you know. So you need to have someone there for taking the decision on like maybe the weird decision, or like use the judgment to or not, or the non-standard decision, like, because all the AI models are trained with the average solution or average data there on internet. So if you have someone that can make the right decision, or the decision that import the most for the product, I think there is something there that it would remains for the engineers, right?
Yeah. What's your take on this, Owen?
Um. Well, this is like a common saying that in the right hands you can get super productive, you know. And personally, I feel that I have worked better with the product people using AI, but not like generating final products, but generating quick prototypes.
Okay.
So that's the most thing that I've been leveraging myself, with AI. I can be on a call, listening to some requirements. I can just type a prompt and get a quick screen about it. And is this what you meant? Oh, yeah, it is. Oh, no, this is totally a different direction. So we can adjust real quick all the communication when developing a product. So that's super cool.
Yeah. So we will say that AI could amplify talent, right? Or taste, as always says, right? But sometimes it just masks inefficient things from human beings, right? From juniors or what?
I'm not really seeing it mask inefficiencies.
Mm-hmm.
It just whatever you are, it amplifies it.
Oh,
If
that sounds
you're
dangerous, right? For some people.
yeah, yeah. I mean, if you're it it just yeah, the amplification part is kind of what I was alluding to earlier, which is that you can no longer hide what you are, like you like because we those of us that have been around long enough have probably had high performers that hide what they are, either intentionally or not intentionally. They might not want to stand out, or they're just humble and are just not able to do it. But with AI help, and they start getting excited and they push forward. And the thing is, this is something to be aware of in the bigger organizations as well. I recently had I had a friend admit something, which means I'll never ever consider hiring him. But basically, he said he was working two jobs. This is a freelancer.
Yeah.
So not that he had two employments or whatever, but he's working two nearly full-time jobs as a freelancer. And because of AI help, what his client thinks is full-time work is only taking him an hour or two a day.
Oh.
because he's so much more productive, and he's spending the rest of the time racing motorcycles and working on I think he said music or something else. But anyway, the point being that I think this is actually more widespread than anyone is really talking about in the industry, especially if you're working from home, and the expectations with your employer have not really changed, and you're a high performer. Either you're going to stand out by racing ahead of everyone else in your group, or if it's not actually acceptable to race ahead of your group, then the only other choice is to work less, to do your work in less time, and then spend the rest of the time doing something else. That's a dynamic that I think, bosses should be aware of, and you know, it's just something to think about. I don't know. I figured I'd throw it in there as an interesting tidbit.
So that you will say that that's a common mistake for companies, right? And it's kind of dangerous because of the power of the tools that they are using, or what?
I think it's a situation that we're in transition right now. I think it's like a time arbitrage that's going to exist for a limited period of time. Because capitalism, like eventually that inefficiency will be driven out of the system. The gains are just simply too dramatic. And right now, a lot of Edwin has talked about the gains in product. I think that I've seen that as well. Very, very cool. I've seen everything from designers using AI and Figma, to drive their designs. Google has really great tools for creating UIs, and the engineers, certainly with coding agents, are being very much more productive. Right now, what's holding back a lot of groups from realizing the full power of the productivity is organizational overhead, communications overhead, kind of legacy reasons, for holding back the productivity. You don't see those with brand new startups that are being born right now as natives in this new environment.
Yeah.
In theory, these brand new startups are going to eat the lunch of everyone else. It's like a innovator's dilemma on steroids. That'll happen over the course of years. Organizational inertia, economic inertia is very, very big. So will 5 years from now there still be shops that are operating kind of sort of how they operate now? Probably. Some. But I think that in the case of the productivity benefits that we're been discussing, they are so dramatic. They are so wildly far beyond anything that we've ever had before, that I think it's like an Overton window shift. It's like everything has shifted, and it means that now the places that we're just scraping by, the big sclerotic corporate shops, that barely can get anything done, will just be, absolutely very, very obviously absolutely terrible to everyone involved, and they just won't survive. And the average perhaps will move quite a bit further along. In practice.
So do you think that, I mean, in a world that where everybody has access to the same tools, the real advantage is context, like being a native of AI and don't have this baggage that all companies have, or what?
Yes, as we've been discussing, but eventually, I do see, these tools taking over all of the implementation. So, like, basically, anything that is implementation of an idea by nature that has existing patterns for how to do the implementation can and will be automated. And at that point, the constraint moves to the idea stage. What do you want to build? What do you want to automate? Where do you want to apply? I'm talking about specifically software here. I'm not talking about much anything else, but what the question of what do you want to build? How do you want to build it? Right now, there's shops that are already have, places that have allowed their employees to like actually run wild with AI and gotten much more productive are reporting that now their bottleneck is with product. It's like figuring out what to actually build. That's going to get worse and worse because, you know, it's like basically at some point, if the implementation becomes so cheap, then that shifts all, you know, the weight of the organizational decisions solely to like, well, okay, what do we do next? You know, and at that point, it really all just depends on how fast the market can respond, how fast the executives are able to make decisions, you know, how fast capital is able to be deployed for new ideas, things like that. Shifts it away from the traditional places in these businesses where delays happen.
Okay. Okay. So I got a question for Victor, who is mostly into getting new people right to the team. According to what Obi is saying, right? Like everybody is going to be like super productive according to their to what there is within them, right? Like inside them. How does the definition of a good engineer change when speed is like no longer the main differentiator? Differentiator.
Well, I will say the first thing is going to be like mindset,
Uh huh.
to have like the right mindset, sorry, for being on, trying to be on top of everything that is coming out, the all the new stuff, trying things out, to have accountability, because uh, if we go to the liability area or aspect, chatbots can be can go to jail, right? So there is need to be someone that is
Right.
accountable for the things that are handling there. Someone, what happens when the AI agents crash, right? So when someone then needs to understand what's going on, how that orchestration is working, and and try to fix those things. Um, and I think I mentioned this in the previous podcast, but curiosity is also one of the other things that I will say that we need to keep in mind when we hire a new engineer
Yeah.
with this kind of characteristics. Yeah.
So judgment, right? Judgment is gonna outweigh knowledge, raw knowledge, and doing things quickly. Edwin,
Sorry. Okay.
do you want me to repeat? Okay.
Yeah.
So according to what Obi has been saying, and also Beck, like a new engineer is going to be defined by their judgment, right? Not like how fast he delivers, not the raw knowledge, not the framework, not the stack, right? Just judgment.
Yeah, and like Obi said, these new tools and all that amplifies what we actually are. And if somebody tries super hard to hide something, that AI itself is gonna realize. No, no, we have bots that they do code reviews. So if I try to hide some super secret code, clever code that is gonna do something, like the guy that wants every 3 months raise an exception, like it's like a cron job that every 3 months throw an error, and they will call him to fix the error. That kind of things are not going to be possible anymore. So it's gonna be harder and harder to cheat. Like I try to hide some of the stuff. So yeah, it's gonna everything is gonna be reduced of actually just delivering the right stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So over the next few years, which companies do you think will survive the best? I mean, the biggest, the fastest, or the clearest, or in this context of AI,
The smallest.
smallest? Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there's really the killer. What I'm seeing is that the killer right now is communications overhead and the old way of doing things. And the more people you have, the more likely you are to be stuck. With those old style policies and procedures that really don't apply anymore. Yeah, and people talk about like the one person unicorn, like basically one person hitting $1 billion valuation sort of thing. That strikes me as an interesting talking point and subject for being able to blog about and give talks about and things like that. It's interesting. Ruby on Rails, which we focus on. Um, it's called the one person framework and things like that. I don't think it's impossible, that we'll see a one person unicorn, but the power of a small team with like high agency, high ownership individuals who have good judgment, who are able to apply this new technology to make themselves productive, to basically build virtual organizations underneath themselves, right? So it's like if I'm building a startup today, I I don't want dozens of people. If I can get away with 10 people, then 10 people it is. Maybe like one product visionary, one finance person, maybe one operations person, and then yeah, how many work streams do we really need in engineering? One person per engineer, per work stream sort of thing. Maybe an extra person for redundancy, because of human factors. But beyond that, you just don't need more people, right? Like, pretty much all of the implementation of the things of the day-to-day work that needs to be done can be automated.
Yeah.
And eventually can and will be. Like right now, there are places that exist in the world. My current startup Czar is one of them, where I feel like we're pushing the limits of what state-of-the-art models are. But this is the worst they're ever going to be, right? Like eventually, right now we're at Opus 4.5. Eventually it's going to be an Opus 5 and Opus 6. There'll be GPT-6 and 7 and so on and so forth. Obviously, the capabilities of these models are going to continue improving. And as they do, the amount of work that you'll be able to give to these long-running agents that are basically like virtual employees that are running around and collaborating with each other is just going to increase and increase. And at that point, really the only people that you need are people who have good taste and good judgment and the energy to keep up with their autonomous organizations, right? The mental agility and the speed to like actually be able to respond to all these things. And I've been involved in some conversations on Twitter, about whether middle management is needed and directors are needed. There's two ways of thinking about that. Like experienced, good director level people, management people are experts in coordination, in orchestration of groups. To that extent, yeah, they're probably very, very valuable in this new way of doing things. If they're able to break free from their pre-existing, models of how companies should work.
It's really funny because yesterday I was speaking with a guy that is in middle manage, and he was just complaining about how he entered into this big company, right? Really famous company. And he said that he didn't do any job, any work like for 3 weeks because the onboarding process was one too long, but nobody could get him access to the site of the onboarding process, and he was like, I just stood there for 3 weeks, just showing up. I mean, remotely, right? Like saying hello, good morning, and whatever, right? And now he's working for the startup, which is like 25 people, and he says like, I enjoy being all the time like uh um busy, right? I enjoy being all the time busy, and that's where I work the best. So yeah, so it's gonna be tough, I believe, because uh in the past we were always like trying to implement some processes, right, to stay with the quality assurance situation and this kind of stuff. But but I don't know. I mean, I hear you and I hear you. You know what I mean? I hear you and I feel you, right? But it's kind of harsh, don't you guys think, Victor and Edwin? Like getting rid of all these old ways of thinking.
Yeah, and you know what? And there is this book that I really like, which is Results Without Authority. That's pretty much how you can oversee your team's performance without them noticing that you're measuring what they are doing. You know, so with the AI, it's super easy to do that. Like Obi said, it's supposed that the managers are good at orchestrating a lot of stuff, but at the same time, so with all these new tools, it's super easy to see what everybody's doing, and even if they want specific position, it's is really useful or not, or can be automated. So that's something that I've recently been thinking about a lot. How we can get even better metrics, better trends, faster results, faster analysis of the team's performance and all that, just using the tool that we have right now. And the team members, they won't even realize that we are doing that. We're not asking them for some specific KPIs or metrics or goals or anything. It's just there. you know
Yeah, exactly. That was what I think. I mean, we're gonna do with KPIs and that kind of stuff, right? We are so little. What do you think? What do you think, Mick?
Yeah, well, totally it's a shift on mentality, right? It's hard and it's tough. It's tough to think like, okay, we have this size of the company at this level, and then in some point we find out that we don't need that amount of people, right? In some positions, um, about all the whole processes, like everything can be optimized, and I have seen this like a lot um how people is being super productive in some ways that we have like in internal scenarios where we used to have like a lot of people in different departments, and now we're doing like kind of the same job with 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 the same within a small group of individuals working on those same processes because we have the AI. So yeah, I don't know. It's tough. It's tough. It's tough.
Stuff, right? Yeah, it's like getting rid of old models. Anyways, so let's go into our ending question, right? If you could give one piece of advice to a founder or technical leader who feels overwhelmed by the future, like right now we're facing that, what would it be? What would it be, guys? What would it be, Obi?
Well, I think people are going to prefer humans as yoga teachers for the foreseeable future. So career change is probably that's a good option.
Okay.
It's only gonna, if you're feeling overwhelmed now, I have bad news for you. It's only gonna get worse. We're in a singularity right now. The pace of change is accelerating without really any end in sight. And yeah, I don't really see any realistic, predictable way of that ending anytime soon. Um, so yeah, but specifically because you said if you're feeling overwhelmed right now, you know, if you're feeling overwhelmed, but right now, I have bad news for you. It's only going to get worse. If you're feeling overwhelmed, but you're willing to, roll with it and maybe, change things so that you're not overwhelmed. I'm just going to tell what I've told some of my people recently, right? Is that the number one learning curve with these new breed of agents, the number one step, the most important step in the learning curve is that if you're stuck or you're unsure or you're overwhelmed or you don't know what to do next for whatever reason, and this applies if you're junior, senior, everything in between, I don't care,
Yeah.
is just ask the agent. It's so freaking simple, and yet it's part of the learning curve. Every I've been working with LMs since GPT-3, right? I had a startup for a couple of years in the AI space. Then I led internal AI initiatives at Shopify for a while. Now I'm a CTO at a startup where we're fully leveraging AI. And I still come across situations on a regular basis where myself think, wait a minute, I've been doing this thing that is a little bit annoying or less than fully efficient. In the latest case this week, it was managing my own Rails server in a different terminal. So, I was using a coding agent. The coding agent is changing code in a server that's running locally. So I'm managing that server. And I said to myself, I bet I could get the coding agent to manage the server for me. So I said, hey, if I wanted you to manage the Rails server for me in a way that you could read the logs and restart it yourself, how would we do that? It's like, well, there's different options, but we could run it in tmux. Hey, that sounds great. Why don't you go ahead and do that? So now I don't have to manage the server myself. Now the coding agent manages the server for me in tmux, and it's one less thing I have to think about. Which is making me more effective. So what I'm trying to say is, we all can get these moments of feeling overwhelmed, but the solution to feeling overwhelmed is to leverage these tools at our disposal, right? Like, I'll give you another example, right? Like most of the alpha, meaning the new information, the very, very new information about what's going on with coding agents, Ralph and beads and Gastown and, decision graphs and traces, things like the stuff that's the hottest thing, right? If you try to stay on top of that religiously, it's going to eat up a significant portion of your day. And if you have other responsibilities, then you might feel overwhelmed. No one is immune from that. That doesn't mean you shouldn't feel bad about that. That is a reality. But for instance, I now have my personal assistant agent has access to Twitter. So as I'm scrolling through Twitter, in my downtime or whatever, and I see interesting things, I bookmark it. And then at some point I can ask my personal agent running in Cloud Code, like, hey, do a summary of the latest bookmarks on Twitter. And it can go find my bookmarks on Twitter and do some research and crank along and go, here are the things that you found interesting in the last few days.
Mm-hmm.
Everything boils down to you have this intelligent thing that can help you. How much of your mental load are you willing to delegate to it?
Got it. Well, sounds pretty exciting. What about 2026 excites you the most, Owen?
Uh, I think one of the things that I feel that we have to have is everything we do to have super clear what a success or failure looks like. Because with the AI we can do a lot of things, so we can just get into that rabbit hole and just keep digging. But at what point we should stop? Like there is a joke where it says like I used to have 3 pet projects, and now thanks to AI, I had 20 now. You know, So, at what point we should just stop going into that rabbit hole? What the success looks like, how the failure looks like. So that's something that I tell founders and like entrepreneurs, what they have to have super clear, what the maximum things that they want to achieve, the minimum things that they can afford to lose, and all that. So once we have super clear those two variables, then it just gets easier, because once you define it, there is no hard feelings. Just letting go one specific project and then the next one and the next one. Otherwise, it's gonna get super tired, and you're gonna feel bad because you abandoned a project that you invested a lot and all that. But once you have that, it gets easier.
Been there. Yeah. Hey, Vic, is there anything that makes you cautious about 2026 in this AI situation?
Mm. Well, I will say that we need to stop trying to learn things like just in case.
Okay.
That's the like an old way of doing things. Like, okay, I will learn this because maybe in 6 months I'm gonna need it. I will say more like just try out things. At the end, you're gonna have an AI agent that is going to be with you and working in some things. Of course, you need to keep the curiosity, uh, always trying to check what is going on right now. Um, the other thing I will say, well, the at the end, it happens right now where like or some um chatbots talk with clients,
Mm-hmm.
but not always maybe they don't have like the right answer for them.
Okay.
At the end, it's going to be is going to need someone like you and me and Edwin or Obi or anyone else, um, to make some discussions to the team, to stakeholders, and more. So for those who are afraid on on what's going on and if they're going to be like replaced, I think programmers um, are not going to be replaced in this year yet. Like uh, bec- uh, because it's kind of like balancing at this point.
Mm-hmm.
AI changed our
Sorry, what's gonna be replaced? Sorry to interrupt you.
Engineers this year, I don't think they're not going to be replaced like as a full.
You say you said programmers before.
Programmers, yeah,
Oh,
programmers.
oh
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, okay.
AI changed how code is produced right now, right? Uh, but just trying to bring this word uh, from all the whole podcast. Um, Judgment is going to remain at the end, just for this year. Maybe in next one, I'm not sure. Maybe next year because everything is so fast.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay.
uh,
Okay. So, Ovi, Victor, Ewan, thank you guys for your time. Thank you for your honesty and the willingness to think out loud. Right? These kind of conversations don't happen often, and they only work when people in the call in the room are willing to go deeper than the headlines. Thank you very much for being here in this Calendar Dilemma. See you guys
you.
around.
Thank you, Darwin.
Yeah.
I know this is not a question for for the podcast, but Ovi, Edwin, what do you think about open source?
I don't think that I don't see a meaningful change to open source libraries and frameworks and things like that. If anything, I suspect you'll have more and more participation and more voices and more vibrancy and things like that. I did, at least from my perspective, I just worked on a system called Nexus and I blogged about it. You may have seen that, right? And I've continued developing it, and it's not core to my, it's not a core. It's not related to the domain I'm working on, right? Like, Czar's a fintech, and this is essentially a knowledge management system.
Yeah.
However, it is a competitive advantage in the way that I see, that I see it working. It would be a competitive advantage for any company that put it into place that would, trying to follow an autonomous agent strategy. So when I, decided whether I wanted to keep it in house or make it open source, it was basically, okay, what do I gain by making it open source? I don't really gain anything, because essentially in the past I might say, okay, well, other intelligent minds, other intelligent people might find it useful and then contribute to it, and then they help accelerate my development. But the cost of development has dropped so low the cycle for development now is basically, I have an idea, I file an issue, autonomous agents pick it up and plan it and work on it and deliver a PR. So really, the limiting factor is not that I don't have enough people to implement stuff. The limiting factor is how quickly can I think of and approve of new ideas to try them out. And at that point, for something like that, it doesn't make sense for me to open source it. I might as well just keep it for myself.
Yeah. Yeah, I just asked that because I don't know if I'm pretty sure you saw that, but the Tailwind stuff, where the creator wanted to not let the AI use Tailwind anymore.
Oh, I mean, that's
Like
never going to
something
happen.
bad.
But yeah, no, it's a business model that did not survive the disruption, right? Like if your business model is dependent on selling documentation, you're screwed.
Yeah.
There's other open source companies that sell services and hosted solutions of whatever it is that they're selling, and those business models are doing fine.
Yeah.
Look at Vercel, or look at other.
Yeah. Totally agree on that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's a shit. You look at that and you go, well, it's kind of a shame, but also, well, he had a good run.
Yeah.
And also, so he laid off 75% of his staff or something like that. But if you look into the details, I mean, it's still paying for him and I think the co-founder and like 2 other people. So it's a good little business, right? Like,
Okay, guys. So thank you for being here. A wonderful weekend. Right.
Likewise. When?
This has been one of those conversations that doesn't try to predict the future, but helps you feel a little more grounded about it. What stands out isn't any single trend or tool, but the shared emphasis on judgment, clarity, and long-term thinking. That perspective matters, especially in a space that moves as fast as tech does. To everyone listening, we hope this gave you something to reflect on, not just about where tech might be headed, but about how you want to build within it. Thanks for spending this time with us. We'll see you in the next episode of Scaling Dynamic.